I'm going to say welcome. We are scattered across the entire state of Tennessee,
Cool.
and I do mean the entire state. Um, Bart Jones, for those that just came on, he's from Memphis. He lives in Memphis, and he's also past president of the Native Plant Society. So and even he claims he's not an expert on identification, although he's really good with the orchids. I would definitely go to him if I needed an orchid ID, and I couldn't get a hold of Dennis Horn. So, and he's filling in for Decatur, covering Decaturville, Decaturville Elementary. So that's going to be fun. We have some people are with elementary school, some are with middle school, and some are with high school. So we're going to have a wide range of skill levels here, or skill levels that you're going to be dealing with. So it should be interesting. We have Phyllis Kitzler and Kate Patrick. They're with St. Rose of Lima Catholic School in Murfreesboro. And you're going to be dealing mostly with middle school students, I gather.
I believe that's right.
Oh, joy.
There's Now, I taught middle school, so I'll tell you right up front, they're still impressionable.
Right.
Keep that in mind. They're still impressionable. You can still manipulate them to some degree into doing what you need, but you have to be creative about it. Okay. So high school can be the most difficult, but they can also be the most rewarding. So it's an elementary school is just plain fun. And we have, let's see, Robin Cooper. Robin has kindly stepped up to cover West High School out in Knoxville.
I am so excited.
You should be. I think
we're all here. This is so amazing. I'm so excited. And we get to just help, even if it's just throwing a mattock around and, you know what I mean? Bringing lemonade. You know what I mean? We just get to encourage these young people.
Yes.
It's just lovely. Yes. Anyway, hi.
You're not going into these schools as native plant experts. You're going into these schools as advisors to help the teachers. You're not there to do all the work. You're not there to dictate what happens. You're there to be supportive of the teacher, who in many cases is really new to this, especially with the elementary school, I suspect, but you're going to have different challenges at each level, but there's always going to be some fun with them, no matter what. You just have to look for it. One of the things I wanted to comment on, I think you all should have the action plan by now. I think I sent it with along with the link for tonight. So this is slightly revised, the one that I sent you. And excuse me, allergies always step up at the wrong time. And allergies affect my voice, first of all. So that's an issue. The action plan is something that needs to be done during the month of August, because we want to get the checks to them, but I'm not going to give out the checks until we have some kind of plan of action and a promise that there's going to be some maintenance. The biggest worry about all the other, from everybody else I've talked to that's done this kind of work, has given out grants, anything like this, is that the plants aren't maintained. And it's just a big waste of money in some schools. So in order to fight that, and hopefully block it from happening completely, we came up with this action plan. So it has some basic questions you have to think about, and you should meet up with the teacher or teachers. In half the cases, it's 2 teachers, but meet up with at least one of them at the school and go over the action plan with them. It's a way of planning out what they're going to do beyond the lesson plan. It goes beyond the lesson plan. So questions are, is the area to be planted, is it barren, lawn, shrubby, or wooded? I mean, are you going to have to take out turf, remove turf in order to put in the garden? Are you going to have to pull out some invasives to make space for the plants? The second question is location of planting area relative to the front door of the school. That's strictly so members of the committee who might be in that area can stop by and at least take a look. You know, it gives us a chance of meeting up and knowing what's going on and seeing what's going on. Will invasives need to be removed before planting? And of course, you're going to have to know a little bit about invasives, be able to identify some of them. Is a supply of tools available for students? That could be pretty big in some places. Because can you borrow some tools? Is there a master gardener group you can borrow some tools from? Can they borrow some tools from their parents? Can they bring them home from home? Or does the school need to purchase some tools for them to work with? That's a biggie because it's the money's there to spend on things like tools, but we'd rather it went for plants. So, you know, you find out ahead of time. What's the source of native plants? And it wouldn't be a bad idea if you started looking around in your area to find out what native plant nurseries are available. There are some big ones across the state that are doing a mighty fine job. Up on the far western edge of Nashville, over in Fairview, is Grow Wild Nursery, which has a national reputation. They have everything. They're also a little pricey. There's Overhill Nursery, which is has a tremendous number of native plants. I think they're mostly native. There's Anne, who's down there in your area?
There's the Lichterman Nature Center, but I don't believe they're going to have a fall sale as far as I know. I'm not sure though. I don't work there. And I have a lot of natives for our fall sale at the Memphis Botanic Garden.
Okay.
And
So
we've
there's
also
one source.
done deals where we will order landscape plugs for people who want to do native plantings on a
Okay.
larger scale
Okay.
and sell them to them at a lower profit than we would make at the plant sale.
Okay. So there's one source for Memphis area.
So Karen, one that is in Oak Ridge is Tennessee Naturescapes. I've actually met with them and they have a nice selection, maybe a little smaller than some, but they did have a very nice selection. And here in Chattanooga, Reflection Writing does plant sales several times a year.
I don't have my list handy, but Mitchell, also at the expo, there were a couple of people that had offered to put up flats, if you will, in advance if you put in orders. So, and I had purchased, I don't have it off the top of my head, but I purchased 50 plants for $90, like splashy pollinators, and it was amazing. And I didn't necessarily know what they were, but I got to know them and I had a place for them. So I was lucky. But
Nice.
sometimes you can contact people and ask in advance if you know what your shopping list is, if you're looking for certain kinds of trees or shrubs or wherever it is your designer wants to start, you know. So that's an option too to approach a nursery on.
There are also folks on Facebook. There are more and more native plant pollinator plant groups on Facebook who, you know, there'll be individuals who will occasionally have sales, smaller sales, but then you can get pretty local plants.
There's
And
also the, oops, I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Knoxville also has the Knoxville Native Plant Rescue.
Mm-hmm. There's also the time of year consideration. So that might work to our advantage with timing of things in our forward thinking process. So
Yes. One thing I ask is do not plan on getting plants at the big box stores. Please, please, please. For those who are not yet aware, they are dosed heavily with neonicotinoids, which stay with the plant, they stay with the soil in the pot, and they kill insects, which is counterproductive to putting in native plants.
And the EPA just postponed signing it out again. Yay.
All right.
Mm.
Okay. I one of the things on the action plan is approximate date for planting. We're kind of setting this up primarily for fall planting, although that's not essential. But fall planting allows things to establish and get going better before they experience the heat of the following summer. So it gives them a lot more time to settle in. Maintenance plan for during the school year. Hopefully that'll be an easy one with students present. But the big one's going to be maintenance plan for the school vacation time. So in siting the gardens, you're going to have to keep in mind, is there a way to get a hose to that garden to water it? Is there some way to get water to them? And will someone be available maybe to do a little weeding during the summer? One suggestion has been, especially for the high school groups, but even those who are not dealing with high schools, if there's a high school nearby, maybe some of the high school students would be willing to do community service hours. So you could always offer that to a neighboring high school students, make some connection there. So.
Yeah, you
something.
might could also get in touch with the FFA sponsors at the high school. There might be a project that the FFA members would want to have to try to do, and that would be a good thing for them.
Yeah, Bart, along those lines, I was thinking, is there some way to incentivize the kids to get out there during the summer?
Well, I think for little kids,
some age groups,
I think it would be
maybe the school would offer some kind of credit if they had a gardening. I know White
club.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I think at least a couple of times during the summer it would be good, and that's what I was going to suggest to the 2 teachers that I'm going to mentor, is that they have like a little get together with their students in the summer and have maybe a few games and a little picnic lunch thing or something so that they can have a good time, plus then check on the garden so that they're still involved. With elementary school kids, it's going to be very difficult to, I think, establish them doing a lot during the summer. I think the teachers are going to end up doing a lot of the maintenance during the summer, which is okay. But if they could at least have a couple of times during the summer to bring them together to take a look at the garden, see how it's growing, pull a few weeds and play, some games and have hot dogs and Kool-Aid, something like that.
How
Got popsicles.
difficult,
Yeah.
how difficult would it be for us to make this a Tennessee Promise project? Because when I was at the Liquorman, I got some Tennessee Project volunteers or Tennessee Promise volunteers who were fantastic, who were doing their community service hours for their scholarships.
I don't know. I think that would be, I mean, is that something that TNPS should do, or is that
Yeah,
something the
I
school should
think
do?
it's a nonprofit. We should be able to connect with that
Mhm.
source of volunteer work.
Excuse me. I can check into it. I really don't know on that.
Or the schools could. And I think you just have to register your volunteer opportunity with them and it has to be approved. But all of this sounds like it would align with things that they approve. Because I got great kids at the Liquorman who were dedicated to making sure that they actually did work and that they completed their work. I was impressed by every Tennessee Promise kid that I got.
There's also community service hours, I believe, for the high school students.
Yeah.
Do you know if Master Gardeners has gotten involved with any of these kind of projects?
Not yet.
Okay.
I hate to depend on other adults not connected with the school, because the kids need some of the responsibilities.
Gotcha.
I mean, that's a possibility, especially with elementary school students.
Right.
Could I jump in? Just
Sure.
in going back to your thoughtful design focus, which is the front entrance, where everybody comes and they see and they can appreciate it. It makes it a little easier to care for than if it's off somewhere else, like across a paddock or field or in another area. So perhaps having it close by and thinking about the design or the site evaluation from the start, and then perhaps mulching would also help, and that's part of
Your supplies.
right. Yeah, it's kind of built in. So do they have hoses? Do they have maybe a watering can? I mean, what do they need? So maybe a site evaluation, just kind of a simple, what do we got and what do we need? So
That's going to be your job.
I know, isn't that wonderful? So we get to decide what they got and what do they need. And then
it doesn't need to be by the front door of the school. I need that so that if I'm out traveling and I happen to pass by one of the schools, I can pop in and take a peek and see how things are going.
Well, absolutely.
Not just me, but anybody else on the committee or whatever. It would be nice to be able to direct people to see it. So, and one way to help with the maintenance too is to bring the maintenance staff at the school into the planning, because they can tell you where there's water that likes to pond in the schoolyard. They can tell you where it's so hot and the soil is so baked that you're not going to be able to put anything in there. They can be invaluable. They know what hoses they have and how far they'll reach.
Great idea.
So don't hesitate to bring in somebody on the maintenance staff and say, would you be available to sit in and talk with us? You
Yeah,
can
like-
ask the teacher to find one of them and bring them to the meeting because they can supply so much information. They'll know more than any of the teachers do about that schoolyard
Yeah,
and
it's
what's
true.
available.
Well, they also know what you got. They got the hoses and they've got the watering cans and they got the goods and the knowledge. That's very clever.
Exactly.
Very clever of you, Karen.
Plus, then they know that there's going to be a garden there and they'll know not to mow it.
That's funny. That's funny.
That I'm sure has happened to many folks.
Yeah.
Well, we had a garden. We spent $500 on plants. Maintenance crew cut it down along with the grass during the summer. Yeah, you got to watch that.
Karen, that happened with my first reel for a long time when I was a teenager. I only had container gardening available. And then I had a little bit of area that I could plant. And they came and weed whacked down everything I planted.
You need some way of marking it off. Maybe some little cheap flags from the hardware store, that you can just flag around it.
Well, I was just
Something
like,
to mark
well,
it off.
I said, well, I'll just plant things that are big enough that they can't weed whack them down then.
Don't challenge them. It gets expensive. Oh my goodness. All right.
Plant selection is going to be a thing too, because, what is your objective? Is it to have plants only in the springtime? Or is it to have a few pollinator kind of plants that make it through the summer or maybe bloom late into the fall? That might help in terms of the interest in keeping it maintained, not letting it dry out, that kind of thing. So in the school that I visited, we talked about bluebells for the early part of the spring season. And of course, we know they die back pretty early. So you just about got to have something to follow them. And then, of course, during the summer, your sunflowers and things like that, and coneflowers, that's a thing that hopefully will help maintain some interest if they can see something happening there.
Yes. All right. I brought up a screen share from our Native Plant Society website. Can y'all see it?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. This is just native gardening on our website. But if you look down, scroll down under which plants to plant.
Yep.
Here are databases that show what's native to Tennessee.
Yep.
And most of them you can put in your zip code, the first two at least. You can enter your zip code and it brings up a list of native plants for that zip code. So that is one good way of working with the students. High schoolers might want to go down to the Tennessee, Kentucky Plant Atlas for information, to look and see if you go by location, you can see what's local at a particular location. But this would be a lot more challenging than the first two. Here are some books that are helpful. The Gardening with Native Plants of Tennessee by Margie Hunter. If you happen to have that, you might want to take it along with you to let them take a peek and get some ideas. There's also Southeast Native Plant Primer, Larry Mellenchamp and Paula Gross. And of course, our Tennessee, Wildflowers of Tennessee, our TNPS book, that is going to be given along with a second book to all of the groups in addition to their $500 check. So all of the schools will receive the Wildflowers of Tennessee and the what we call the twig book. It's the woody plants of Tennessee. So that should help. Our Tennessee Invasive Plant Council has wonderful handouts that they put a lot of effort into. And it's broken down into the 3 handouts are East Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, and West Tennessee. And if you click on any of these, it's a link to the plants, a plant list for your area that's recommended by TNEPC. So this would be a handout that could be used in most of the classes. So I would recommend printing one out, whichever one is appropriate for your school, and having that available. Where to get plants? We have a lot of resources listed on our website. But Audubon you could actually order native plants through Audubon or National Wildlife Federation. And those supposedly are locally sourced plants. So they have kits, for $100, $300, $500. And you can get a kit for a specific situation. And it has all kinds of plants in it. So for those that are having trouble deciding what to get, that might be an option. Okay. And the rest is about our grants. I'm going to break the grants information off and give it its own page. So you'll probably see that happening next week. Okay. What questions do you all have? What are your worries?
Okay, I'm concerned about bed prep costs.
Okay.
And say the situation that we run into requires realistically 6 months of bed prep to make it appropriate for planting. Can we then
Plant in the spring?
At that point, I'm thinking the grant will have run out with bed prep, mulch, possible tools, plants. So in the spring, their grant will have run out. Can we somehow sustain this garden?
Well, the grant is $500. They get to choose how to spend it.
Yeah.
So you
So
might want to go
basically,
for
my
a
question is-
smaller garden
Yeah,
that
after
can
the
be added
500
on to the following year.
after the 500 runs out, is there any way for us to be sustaining partners with this garden?
Each school can come back and ask for a second year grant.
Okay. And we
No
would decide,
guarantee that they'll get it,
yeah.
but they can apply for a grant.
Okay.
Another option I think that would be really helpful for a lot of the schools would be to partner with their PTO to see if they can't cover a little bit of the extra cost, and that way the 500 will go a lot further if there does need to be a lot of prep time or hardscaping that they want to put in. But that's an organization that they can usually raise funds fairly quickly if they need something.
What is PTO, please?
Parent teacher organization. It's like a PTA.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
they,
used to be PTA, now it's PTO.
Thank you. Have to plug in and battery low.
Okay. $500 can go a long way if you're careful about budgeting it. You can't do a large garden, a large planting area with $500. You're going to have to start small, but that would allow it to be added to the following year. And it
That
could be expanded over a series of years.
I think that's a great guidance point
yeah,
to emphasize.
Well, if I could point out as well, at least with the high school, here there's years that are coming and years that are graduating. So there's always going to be sort of a constant turnover of students in a club or of interest. So there possibly should be some forward thinking about how those up and comers are being taken in under the wing of perhaps the high schoolers, or moving on to another grade or school. So there's also passing batons in that area as well, how that gets planned out. And so maybe this year starts in one area, but they've sort of created a roadmap for the next group, and they maybe hand off in that way. Just something to think about.
And that's going to be reflected in the choices that each school makes.
Mm-hmm.
And
what
as
they're-
mentors, you can help them with that, but we can't force them to do that.
Well-
Some of them are already forward thinking about working with others than the class itself, having others participate as well.
And
One
share-
school has a club that they're going to bring in some members of the club to kind of continue some continuation on it. Some oversight, maybe.
Well, and it also is good community cross-pollination. And if you're trying to get, interest in caretaking of a yard during difficult periods, having a lot of shareholders or stakeholders involved in the garden then spreads a lot of work in many different areas. People can, have opportunities to pitch in. It's a thought. Too.
Mm-hmm.
If we have questions later as we go on with this, is there a way to reach out to you, Karen, and the committee?
Certainly.
And I believe you text the other day, so is that the text to go by?
Yeah, feel free to email me. Email is the best.
Okay.
Excuse me, unless it's urgent, then text me.
Gotcha. Okay, so email. That's
Like,
everybody's
you're
got
out doing something with the class and you've got a major question, text me.
okay.
But if it's something like that I can get back to you the next day, email. Okay.
One of the things you had talked about as far as the location was toward the front door of the school, and I get that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was thinking about for St. Rose was we have an Eagle Scout who is putting in a grotto, and that they have plans to bring plants in. So I'm like, well, this could be perhaps the native plants. And, so it sounds like to me, maybe the soil might be prepared. It's not near the front door, however.
Doesn't have to be. Really doesn't have to be. I'd just like to know where it is in relation to the front door, so that if I'm in the neighborhood, I can go find it.
We might have to sneak around the school, but
I've done that before.
I don't even know if that's got to happen, but in my mind, it just seems like that would work out so well.
Sounds like
it's worth exploring.
Oh yeah.
You might want to bring that Eagle Scout into the meeting with the classroom teacher too.
Well, I figure we would probably mention it to the high school or the teacher first, and not high school, but Teacher First, and just kind of see, because I don't know what he's already got in mind.
Exactly. They may have a plan that something else, but it's
Exactly.
certainly something you should bring up with the teacher as a possibility that would multiply the effort.
Well, yeah, I plan to, because to me, it's just like, this just makes sense. You know, get more
Oh, that's
hands.
good. That's good. So, all right. Any other questions?
So are there any thoughts about whether or not we should be talking to them about perennials versus native shrubs versus native trees? Maybe they want to plant 2 or 3 trees and watch those grow. What do you think?
I think that's a mixture would be nice at any location, but it depends on what area of the school you choose, what's going to work there.
Sure.
That's what I was thinking. I was envisioning I assume they've got their garden locations. Well, they do, because they put that in their application. And so it's whatever is best suited to the area. But there's also the opportunity to talk to children about a long-term plan and how you could.
These kids could come back the following year and at least visit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and with the elementary school kids, you could, the trees and shrubs things makes me think, you could have kids who live in the same community and graduate from a high school in that community, but they've started this garden and they come back and take care of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Yeah.
One thing I think that is a kind of like what Mitchell was talking about earlier. I think it's important that you try to time most of the plant bloom during a time that they're going to be in school. So either spring or early fall, just because the worst thing would be is they work on this, get it going, and then they don't ever see anything bloom unless they come back during the middle of summer break.
Yeah, which is why we're kind of directing them in some ways to do the planting in the fall. So
Yeah, but
that
you're going to have pick your plants to bloom either in the fall or the spring.
yeah, but
I'm
that
gonna.
gives you a wider range of time.
Yeah.
I think that at least in the Memphis area, we can incentivize people to get out there if they have a passion for the garden and are dedicated to it. We hopefully can get students out there in the garden weeding in the middle of the summer, because that, especially when the garden is first being established in this area, that is the time when all of the crabgrass germinates.
Oh yeah.
And all of the smartweed germinates, and you're just left with a mess of smartweed and crabgrass, and we don't want that to happen.
We do need to keep in mind that when it comes to weeding, you need to guide them as to what a weed is. What do the weeds look like, and what do the new plants look like? Gonna have to be very, very careful there. One way I've learned is to take popsicle sticks. You can get a whole bag of about 500 of them at a craft store. And you write the name of the plant on the popsicle stick and stick it in the ground next to the plant. So use a permanent marker, a Sharpie or something, to mark what it is. And that helps to know what what did we plant and what's a weed.
Yeah.
And gradually over time, they'll learn to differentiate.
Along those same lines, Karen, my sister, works often with young people who just need a summer job. And so, she'll use flags to mark, this is this is a weed. This is what we want to get rid of. yeah, she uses flags to communicate, and it's pretty effective.
Yes. The popsicle sticks will fade. They'll have to be remarked the following year probably, but it's a cheap marker. Really cheap. And of course the flags, you can always write on the flag what it is too. Just have to make it short and sweet.
Yeah, and she was being extra cheap at work and using masking tape on flags so that you can take it off and reuse the flag for for a different purpose.
Flags are cheap though, I think. Aren't they?
They are, but she just was like, you can't just throw away a flag.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully it'll stay with the plant for a while to help the kids learn the names of the plants.
Yeah, the flags, depending on the wildlife in the area, the flags will move around. Or
True. And that's another issue you have to keep in mind. There could be, I mean, they're native plants. They'll get eaten, some more so than others. So you need to be cautious. That's one thing to consider in choosing plants.
Don't pick lilies.
Yeah, and don't plant strawberry bush. Because if there's a deer within a mile, they'll find it and eat it. So, yeah. Any other questions or concerns?
I have one question, Karen.
Sure, Robin.
On my application, there are indications that there are some photos that I couldn't find, and maybe it's my been doing a lot of planting these days. We've had a lot of rain, so I'm taking advantage of that. So if I've missed how to get a PDF of the garden design, because there's a landscaper that worked with them, for instance, how would I contact them or you?
I have no way of getting it.
It came in with their application. There was a
Oh,
before and after photos of a planting site. There's a
yeah,
garden.
they had, I'm not sure what went on there. That
Okay.
was not supposed to have been done initially. That needs to be done with you.
Okay, it's been done. So
Well, they can show you,
okay,
have them show you.
okay, because they've got photos from last year and then this year in spring, which would be good to see too. So I'll ask them, and what do they call me, or will they call?
Well, oh, that's a good question. If you want to take the initiative, call the teachers.
Okay.
If you want to wait a week and see if they call you, and if they do, great. And if they don't, call them. Don't let time get away from you.
Well, they start school August 1st, which is tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Right. So I'd imagine their days are pretty hectic at the moment. So as a
But you
private
need to,
teacher, what would you suggest?
you have to connect with the teacher and set up a meeting.
What timing would you suggest given their hectic schedule?
They'll
Like
tell you what
next-
works. It's
next-
going to be different for everyone.
Okay.
You know, they might want to meet right after school on next Wednesday. They might want to meet, you know, on a Saturday even. They might have a planning period where they can meet you.
So,
It's hard to tell. It's going to be so different with each school and each teacher. So you're just going to have to work with them.
yeah, I was just looking for a little insight into their scheduling, and perhaps would this week be a better time or next week? Like, I just had an experience with a local school that we spent 2 months not connecting. So My question comes with a little experience in.
Well, there's a little bit of
Well,
incentive.
I do.
They have to have your signature on this action plan,
Gotcha. Okay.
and it's due by September 1 if they want that check. Okay?
Got it. Thank you.
We tried to build in incentives.
Thank you. Okay. I feel emboldened.
Good. They must connect with you. Okay?
Okay.
And I don't think you're going to have a problem at the high school.
I don't think so. They look very interesting and they already seem pretty buttoned up. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm excited.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, if you have some further down the road, don't hesitate to email me. That would be fine. If it's an urgent one, text me. And if there's anything else I need to supply you with, let me know.
Do we know your text? I'm not sure I do.
I'll give it to you. My phone number is, got a pencil to write it down.
I do. Ready.
410-490-6862.
410-490-6862.
Yes. I don't typically answer a phone call because I get a lot of spam, but I do answer texts. And if you do call me, just leave a message and I will call you back. I might even pick up before you finish the message. So I just want to know it's not spam.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Well, if not, it's been lovely meeting you ladies. And seeing you, Bart.
Yay.
So thanks for coming and good luck. This is a wonderful adventure. Just remember, it's not up to you to do it all. That's the teacher's job. You're there to advise, to be a sounding board, to help guide them, to help them find information when they don't seem to have it. Okay? And when it comes time, around September 1, when we'll be passing out the checks, we'll also be shipping books to everybody, 2 books. In some cases, I will send them, I'll talk with you ahead of time, but I'll probably send them in many cases as a package to you as a mentor so that you have a little photo op, if you'd like, presenting the check on behalf of TNPS. Okay? So that most schools jump at that because they can use it for a little positive publicity for their school. Okay? And if there's any photos, we would love to have them too, because we'll put them in our newsletter. Okay? And the final, after everything gets done, one of the final things is they need to have a student or group of students before the end of the school year write an article about their experience about the garden. And they need to include a before picture and an after picture. And we will do our best to get them all in our May issue of the newsletter that we send out to all our members, so that people will get to see they missed out. Other school teachers see they missed out on this year's grants, and they might want to get on the ball and apply in 2025. So this is going to be a little incentive. Plus, I'd love to be able to hear from the students about what they learned. I mean, elementary school students, I know it's going to be different, and that's perfectly fine. We'll take whatever it is and be delighted to see it, because it's going to mean different things at elementary school level than it will at high school level. So maybe we'll be
Karen?
lucky, and some of them are headed towards a career in landscape design or horticulture or something like that. Yes,
Karen,
Anne?
I think that just what you were saying just now just sort of it inspired me and made me think, wait a minute, if we can make this a success, if we can really have examples of this project that work. My dog is starting to whimper. I don't know if you can hear her in the background.
Yes, it's in the background.
Okay. But we could perhaps even ask for some corporate sponsorship to help us to expand this project.
That's something we'll be discussing among ourselves as a committee and as a board in the future.
She jumped the obstacle to get to what she wanted.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I really think if we have, this is almost ground level, at least in Tennessee.
It is. It is. So it's a starting point. Let's see if we can't make it all work. If we can get this to work, then we'll look for next steps. Okay. Who knows? Maybe we'll have first times grants and grants for continuing. Have two categories of grants. There's a possibility there down the road, but that's something we can discuss. So if we can make this happen, it'll be wonderful. First time, so I know we're going to run into issues. Please don't hesitate to let me know this is not working or that's not working, or how in the world can we do this? Just, I'm here. I do answer the emails. So thank you. Thank you for coming, and I'm going to say goodnight then.